KETV Newswatch 7, chronicling the stories impacting our community. Stories making a difference. Stories that matter to you. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle.
The Nebraska State Patrol is an outstanding agency. Every ingredient is already in place to move the State Patrol to the next level.
And that's exactly what Colonel John Bolduc says he wants to do. He's been on the job for a little more than 3 months, becoming the 18th superintendent of the Nebraska State Patrol in mid-October. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rob McCartney. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle. This morning, we're talking with Colonel John Bolduc. He replaced Brad Rice, who was fired from the job last year after allegations surfaced the department mishandled internal investigations. More on that in a minute. First, though, KETV Newswatch 7's Camilla Ortiz takes a closer look at the man leading the Nebraska State Patrol.
Governor Pete Ricketts announcing Nebraska State Patrol's new colonel.
We've made that selection, and that selection is Chief John Bolduc.
Chief Bolduc, a 52-year-old Minnesota man, previously served as the Port of San Diego's police chief for 7 years.
And this opportunity just fit really nicely with my experience and my skill set, I believed.
With 31 total years of law enforcement experience, Bolduc was the unanimous choice for the governor's 4-person search committee. Omaha Police Chief Todd Schmaderer, one of the members.
He's got high integrity and ethics. You'll see that as you're around him.
He's replacing former Superintendent Brad Rice, who was fired after allegations that he tampered with 2 internal investigations. 6 State Patrol officers and command staff remain on paid administrative leave. The governor says Bolduc has experience coming into agencies facing challenges.
He was the person who came in from the outside to address different opportunities to improve those organizations.
I will be a good listener, and that's part of the evaluation process. Where are we? Where do we need to go? How are we going to get there? Doesn't happen.
That was Camilla Ortiz reporting. Just 2 months after Colonel Bolduc took over the department, that internal investigation launched by the governor was over. It determined 7 troopers were involved. 3 no longer have a job with the state. Patrol says those moves were all about restoring public trust and accountability.
Some will use it as a way to support a view that this is a troubled agency. It is not.
KETV Newswatch 7's Alexander Stone takes a closer look at the punishments handed down.
An excessive force case in which a trooper hits a woman in the head with the butt of a rifle. And this chase near Gordon, Nebraska, that leaves a suspect dead after a trooper hits his vehicle. These 2 2016 incidents leading to an internal investigation into 7 Nebraska State Patrol employees.
Some mistakes made by these troopers run counter to the trust placed in them as public servants.
3 troopers are no longer employed by NSP. 1 retired, another resigned, and a 3rd was terminated. 2 others were demoted, and 2 received administrative penalties but will keep their current jobs. Colonel John Bolduc makes it clear the investigation did not have to do with the actual incidents, rather the leadership reporting an investigation afterward.
I think this is a standard rule in all of law enforcement. The standard isn't perfection, the standard is honesty.
Bolduc says they're reviewing policies and procedures, but he doesn't believe this is a systematic problem, standing by the integrity of the agency as a whole.
Every day, our troopers performing heroically, doing great work, making great cases, and that's the standard. These are definitely not the standard.
Reporting in Lincoln, Alexandra Stone, KETV Newswatch 7.
And joining me now is Colonel John Bolduc. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Rob.
So it's been a busy few months. You said you were in assessment mode, so what's the assessment?
Well, we're still there, but the early observations are we have a lot of great folks doing great work at Nebraska State Patrol, and there are some systems and some policies and some things that we need to address, but you know, it's important for Nebraskans to know that they have a lot of dedicated servants who go out there every day and do a great job, even in horrible weather conditions like we saw recently. And they're out there to serve and protect and provide great service to our citizens.
Now, the patrol took a bit of a black eye under Colonel Rice. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, those things kind of took care of themselves. I mean, The governor took his actions. I was placed in a position where I had to make decisions based on facts that were presented to me, and I made those decisions based on what's right, what is considered industry best practices, and we're ready to move forward from those incidents that cause people to have some natural skepticism about our organization.
Everybody on board with it?
I believe most people are on board with it. The challenging part in change management in any organization is to make sure that everybody understands what the direction is and how we're going to get there. We're still in that process right now. It's still very early on, and we're still assessing things like structure and policy and what are the steps that are going to get us to that next level that we need to go to.
You said, the quote is, we hire human beings and human beings can make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect ever. Now, impropriety or even allegations of impropriety, they can certainly damage public confidence. How do you get that back?
Well, that's going to be an experience that the public has with us, and I say this to our troopers. For those in the public who are skeptical, that skepticism is going to be won over by doing great work, by every single encounter that we have with our citizens, whether they're residents of Nebraska, whether they're visitors, that is going to leave an impression when we have an interaction with them. It's like eating at a restaurant where if the food is bad or the server is crabby, it's not a good experience. You don't keep that to yourself. It's the same thing when the public interacts with a law enforcement officer. That experience is going to be memorable. We have an opportunity to leave it memorable in a positive way. And we're going to win back the public one encounter at a time just by being professionals and doing a great job with every encounter.
Female troopers suing the patrol over allegations of sexually invasive procedures done several years ago. That lawsuit is proceeding.
Correct.
How can we be sure with you as colonel that won't happen again?
Well, I can't guarantee that we'll never be sued, but I can guarantee that it is my expectation that we'll treat every employee and every citizen with respect. If there are disagreements over policy, we're going to address those policies. But the value is that, look, we have these outstanding men and women in our organization, and they have to be listened to, they have to be treated with respect at every step in the process.
In your confirmation hearing, Senator Tom Brewer from Gordon raised interesting points. He said he complained he wasn't getting answers about the discipline of the patrol, citing that this quote is a mysterious, hidden internal investigation. Now, for some leaders, transparency is kind of a dirty word almost. Your thoughts on that?
Well, transparency is important. We are doing the public's work. That work has to be done in the public. Now, of course, there are some exceptions, and we're bound by certain rules that prohibit complete transparency, but we're working to address those things. Now, you have to balance due process rights, because an officer or another employee could be accused of wrongdoing when they haven't done anything wrong. And having that broadcast to the public and all of those details could be a serious challenge to their due process rights. Now, we don't know until we conduct an investigation whether or not an allegation of misconduct is actually true. So the publics need to know, right to know, what the public servants are doing versus the rights of the employee to have due process. It's a balancing act. I think right now we're balanced a little too far to lacking transparency, and there are some initiatives underway where we can hopefully address those things.
You know, most leaders are only as good as the information they get. In that same confirmation hearing, you talked about you complained actually about getting filtered information from your command staff. You're in separate buildings from troopers. Right. Is that going to change?
It is going to change, but let me clarify that I didn't expound on in that meeting. I get filtered information from everybody. It's my job as a leader to make sure I remove the filters or apply the correct filters to make sure I'm getting the whole picture. And I don't mean to insinuate that anyone's trying to mislead me or anybody else. We provide information based on our view of what happened or our desired outcome based on our position. And that's not just the command staff, to be very fair. We have a very competent and experienced command staff at state headquarters. But bringing in a new leader from outside the organization that they don't know presents a challenge for them. Trust is built over time. We don't have a whole lot of time in the saddle together in trying to move the organization forward. So that's going to take some time. So filtered information, very normal, but it comes from everywhere.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification, because that is important to know the difference.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you talk about challenges. A lot of the state departments are under tough financial constraints right now, the budget constraints. What's the impact on the patrol, and are you going to have to cut into any meat?
I don't think we're going to have to cut into any meat. We have to live within our means, just like every citizen of Nebraska. The money that we are allocated from the legislature is the money that we have to spend to fulfill our mission. It's a little tight right now, but we have to operate within that, just like everybody else. So we will get the job done within the allotment provided to us.
Right now, the patrol's running short of your authorized staff. Let's look at the recruiting class. Do you have enough people who are even interested in becoming a trooper?
Absolutely. We have some outstanding candidates in the pipeline. We have many folks going through the background and vetting process right now. We hope to be in that 25 to 30 recruits in the next camp, which is about our average. And we're going to have some outstanding folks in that troop. And in order to catch up with the many retirements that we've had over the last few years, we're going to have to increase the cycle time of having those camps. So we may see 2 camps per year, whereas in the past we've only done 1 per year. But this is very normal. If you ask any law enforcement leader across the country, they're facing the same thing that we are. We're seeing a demographic bubble with a lot of folks retiring and a shrinking pool of people interested in law enforcement, and we're all competing for that same pool of resources. So we have to be resourceful, and we have to be creative in how we recruit potential new troopers to be the future of our organization. And
then let me ask you about those potential new troopers. The 4% of sworn officers are non-white minorities, 7% are women. There are no non-white minorities ranked major or higher. There's 1 female captain. And some people look at those numbers and say that's really not good. We're in a bad situation. How do you change that?
Well, first of all, I turn it back to our critics and say, what are you going to do to help us? We have to do something differently than we've done in the past if we expect to change the outcomes. So we need to appeal to minority police officer candidates, trooper candidates. We have to appeal to women trooper candidates. And fortunately, we have an outstanding staff. And I have female troopers who have stepped up and said, how can I help? And I'm like, great. Who better to recruit female troopers than female troopers? So we hope to move the needle on that. It's not going to happen overnight, but we'll be a better organization as we get more diverse, as we bring in people with different backgrounds and different experiences, because that's going to help us be better servants.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation talking about a new program unveiled just last month to help find missing, vulnerable Nebraskans. You're watching KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle. Welcome back to KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle. This morning we're talking with the new man in charge of the Nebraska State Patrol, Colonel John Bolduc. Now in late January, the department debuted a new tool to keep Nebraskans safe. And KETV News Watch 7's Andrew Ozaki shows us how it works.
An 87-year-old Rosalie man missing in blizzard conditions, located and safe, thanks in part to a new alert system that wasn't even officially rolled out.
This was a great first run for the Endangered Missing Advisory.
Monday evening, the Thurston County Sheriff's Office notified the State Patrol they were trying to locate Kenneth Brummond, who suffers from dementia. His family posted this photo on Facebook. This alert was sent out to local media outlets in the area.
Helped a lot of people get out and look for Kenneth.
The alert was canceled Tuesday morning after family members found him in his parked SUV that was still running.
And he was reunited with his family, and all turned out well.
The Patrol Attorney General and news media have been working on the new system for years. It fills the gap for missing adults or kids that don't qualify for Amber Alerts. The missing person can be any age, and the alert is not statewide, only issued in a specific area. Those who help people suffering from dementia say the system is needed.
As we see more and more people with the disease, the chances that someone is going to go missing is increasing every day.
It also could have been used in the case of this missing Omaha 12-year-old. Police did not believe she was abducted, but her family told us she was in danger because she was with her 23-year-old boyfriend.
My sister is a child, and he is an adult already.
Law officials believe the system will save lives, and they are glad it was ready to go to help locate this man.
The timing was good in this case.
In Lincoln, Andrew Ozaki, KETV News Watch 7.
And joining me once again is Colonel Bolduc from the Nebraska State Patrol. Was this really needed? Is this really needed?
Well, Rob, this is a great tool, and yes, it is needed. There are gaps in the systems that we have today, and the best thing we can do is get information out in the hands of the public so they can be the eyes and ears and the boots on the ground so that we can help locate somebody who's endangered. And we know that Nebraskans are folks who take care of their neighbors and care about people, and they're going to jump right in and help us locate those endangered people.
Why not just expand the Amber Alert? I mean, that has such tight guidelines.
The Amber Alert does have very tight guidelines, very specific to those who are believed to have been abducted. And that is a statewide system, actually region-wide. Sometimes they're issued in multiple states over multiple modes of communication. And that is appropriately crafted for those very rare and very dangerous cases. This fills in the gaps for those who fall outside of those boundaries. And I think it gets us to where we want to go, getting those people found as soon as possible.
Let's talk about a couple other issues here. There have been hundreds of marijuana stops on I-80 by the patrol, a lot of it coming in from Colorado and in points west. Why are you getting so many cases? Is it just so many going through, or are you just really good at it?
Well, Rob, I think it's a combination of both. When we talk about marijuana on the freeway, on the interstate, it's not just the marijuana that's literally on the interstate, like last week, but it's marijuana that's being transported through multiple modes of transportation. It's not just marijuana. We have fentanyl, we have heroin, we have meth, and very dangerous drugs transiting through our train stations, through our airports, through our interstates. It's important that we disrupt that flow before those drugs land in our neighborhoods.
Right. Speaking of train stations, we had a very dangerous situation just right outside here at Burlington train station not too long ago. So what is the patrol doing? I mean, as far as cutting that pipeline on the various transportation avenues?
Well, we're not going to reveal all of our trade secrets, but we are going to say this. Look, anytime we encounter vehicles on our interstate that are transporting narcotics, obviously we're going to interrupt that business, and we're going to seize those drugs, and they're going to be destroyed, and they're not going to be in the pipeline. But we have a number of investigative tools that we're using, and we're partnering with other agencies. That's the most important aspect of it, with Omaha PD, with Lincoln PD, with our federal partners, to provide actionable intelligence to our troopers in the field so that they can disrupt this flow of narcotics into our communities.
Let's talk about the troopers' interaction with the public. I mean, in this January snowstorm we had, you had troopers out there who were tweeting basically nonstop about where they were, what they were seeing. This seems a change from years past. Do you encourage them to do that?
Absolutely. Communication with the public is critical. And who better to do it than the folks who are actually doing the job out on the street, whether they are traffic enforcement officers, whether they're in our carrier enforcement division or in our investigative services. They are seeing things that would be of interest to the public, and being able to communicate that in real time is really helpful in kind of breaking down that barrier of the public not knowing who we are. Kind of removes that uniform and puts a face and a personality out there for the public. Because after all, police officers, troopers, we're members of the public too. So we're just like your neighbors, and we want to kind of break down that facade and say, look, we're people just like you, doing a challenging job, and sometimes we need the help of the public to do that challenging job.
And personality and tweets. Let's look at some of your tweets. We had one January 22nd. It was liked more than 250 times. You said, so proud of our troopers and dispatchers. They've handled hundreds of calls for assistance during the winter storm. They're still at it. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? I mean, not so much the troopers who are out there.
Well, the most important reason for doing those tweets is to tell our people who are doing that job, I'm proud of them. You have a difficult job. You're doing it. You're out there serving the public in all kinds of difficult conditions. It's to reinforce that I see you. I know the great work you're doing. Keep it up. Way to go, team.
Gotcha. And you had another one that was about, you were chasing somebody. This speaks, I think, to your sense of humor. Back in November, you tweeted, just missed him, to a posting, one that said, one of the dispatch briefs from last night. Dispatch to report of Bigfoot standing on shoulder of interstate at 197 westbound. Trooper reported Sasquatch remained elusive. Does that personalize the department? I mean, that sense of humor?
Look, we have a tough job. I always say this about law enforcement. We have a front row seat to life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad and ugly out there. But when we're not dealing with those difficult things, we have to have a sense of humor. I mean, a lot of stuff that happens to people, that people interact with one another, it's humorous. You have to keep it light. Look, it's a tough job, but I always say, hey, keep it light, folks. We have to have fun while at work, just like your job, Rob. I mean, you have to have fun at work. You spend a lot of time there, and not the kind of fun that's at one another's expense, but the kind of fun where you come into a workplace and you hear some laughter and you see some smiles. That's a healthy workplace. That's the place that I want to work, and that's the kind of workplace that I want to create here at Nebraska State Patrol.
So what's the end result doing that? The end result for the public is what?
They see that we're human beings. We're here to serve and to help, and we're people just like you.
Okay. And we want to touch a little bit more on the person you are, John Bolduc. Up next, we're going to get up close and personal with the Colonel. First, have a reminder that your comments are an important part of the show. If you want to be heard, email your comments to news@ketv.com. Love hearing from you, and we'll be right back. And go Big Red.
Vikings.
That was Colonel John Bolduc the day after that miracle catch in Minnesota. I think we all remember it. Welcome back to KATV News Watch 7's Chronicle. Talking with Colonel Bolduc this morning about the Nebraska State Patrol. Only have a few minutes left. I want to ask you a couple questions. Super Bowls in Minnesota. Who are you rooting for?
Oh, I got to go for Philadelphia. Sadly, they beat my Vikings, but
really,
I'm in the not a fan of Tom Brady and the Patriots, to be polite.
Amen, brother. So am I. He beat my Steelers many times. So yeah, Vikings going to make it there next year, you think?
Oh, absolutely, all the way.
Okay, I see what kind of guy you are. Yeah. All right, who do you cheer for? Nebraska and Minnesota in football, college football.
Oh, I'm going to get in big trouble. I'm a Gophers fan, die hard through and through, but I love the Huskers.
Right.
Second.
Gotcha. Okay. Well played. What do you do to wind down? I mean, you have a stressful job.
Well, right now, to add stress, my wife and I are house shopping. So that's not a wind down. But I love the outdoors. We love to hunt and fish, just like any true Minnesotan. That wasn't very well received in Southern California when I lived out there. But we had some good jokes with my deer antlers in my office. People wondering what they were. I had to explain it was a hat rack, so they wouldn't think I was assaulting Bambi or something. But definitely the outdoors. We love to spend time and spend time with family and doing those kind of things.
So you like to ice fish, I understand. You couldn't do that in San Diego, obviously. What kind of fish do you go for?
Well, definitely walleye. That's a staple in Minnesota. So did a lot of fishing both in the summer and winter for walleye. I'm also a big bass fisherman. My son and I used to fish a few little bass tournaments up in Minnesota. So I'm looking forward to find some Nebraska largemouth. And same joke. My wife says I say the same joke all the time. But you know where I like to catch largemouth bass?
Where's that?
Right here.
I can see why she would groan every time she hears that joke. It's a good one, though. I like it. You said family. You got a wife?
Yeah.
Just one son?
No, my wife, 31 years, and she's followed me all over the country. High school sweethearts from Osseo, Minnesota. I've got a son in Kansas City and a daughter in Minneapolis. So we get a chance to visit with those guys much more frequently now that we're back in the middle of the country.
Gotcha. Okay, a lot of people may hear Brainerd, Minnesota, Coen Brothers, Fargo movie. Is that your favorite movie?
Ouch. Well, I became the police chief in Brainerd 5 years after that movie came out. And once I got there and settled into my new office, I got emails and phone calls every day saying, "We love that movie, please send us a patch." And my advice was get a new favorite movie.
So final words for Nebraskans as a new superintendent?
It's great to be here. Nebraskans are just like other Midwesterners, down to earth, friendly people. We're glad to be back in the Midwest, and it's really an honor to be in charge of a great agency with a lot of great folks.
And we wish you the best of luck. Get some trying times ahead. All right, Colonel Bolduc, thanks. You bet. Remember, if you missed any part of the show or you want to watch it again, it's online right now at KETV.com. Just go to our homepage, click on the menu button, and then look for Chronicle. I'm Rob McCartney. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here again next Sunday morning for KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.